Sound off.
Chit Chat is sponsored by Fun Again Games, where everyone is welcome at our table. And your source for hard-to-find imports, liquidation games, new releases, and much more. Be sure to visit funagain.com to check it out.
On episode 82 of Chit Chat, we sit down with Andrew Navaro and get the lowdown on Earthborn Rangers. We'll discuss how we have fun playing games, what we've been watching, and save a little time for a battle between two cheeseheads.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Chit Chat episode, 82 this is?
It is episode 82.
Exciting.
It's
second episode of our kind of like reboot.
Yeah, it's kind of our, it's episode 82 of Over the Long Haul, episode 2 of sort of the new format. And we've got some a special guest and a returning, contributor in Jeremy Howard. But our special guest tonight is Andrew Navaro. Andrew, welcome and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited for the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. We will not drill you too much, but everyone does want to know a little bit more about Earthbound Rangers or Earthborn Rangers. Earthborn Rangers.
Earthbound is something different.
Particularly me. But we're also just gonna talk about stuff like TV shows and video games and board games we've been playing. And of course, Jeremy Howard is back. Jeremy, how long has it been?
Long since 2020. No, just kidding. I don't know. It's been a long time.
I'm sure it was 2020.
Since
2020. 2020.
How about that? The days of old. The days of old.
It's been a while. I mean, Jeremy Howard was going to be here anyway this week, but coincidentally, both of these guys are from Wisconsin.
How about that?
Andrew? Do you still live in Wisconsin?
No, I live in Minnesota now. I'm in enemy territory.
Enemy territory, but they're both Wisconsin guys from up north, so we'll have a little fun with that as well. Yeah. Again, thanks for tuning in. This is episode 82. We're going to get right to it in a moment, but before we get to anything that we're going to talk about, Ryan, do we have a winner? Do we have a winner from last week?
I do, but I didn't write it down. So.
Ryan's going to find the winner, and we're going to announce it mid-episode. That's
I
how
wrote it down on my phone. I just didn't.
I'm sorry.
Physically write it down, so I'm sorry.
And the winner, this is Capital Lux 2 Generations is gonna get this game.
I want it.
Yes,
Jeremy, you are not eligible for the prize.
I can't have everything, man.
The winner was named Richard Hammer. I should have remembered that. So,
Richard Hammer.
Hammer, congratulations.
Yes, thank you for commenting. Email us at manversusmeeple@gmail.com, and we will, with all of your information, and we will get that game out to you as soon as we possibly can. And make a comment this week too, because we will be giving away a game. Let's see, what kind of game can we give away? I am going to say that we'll give away. Oh no, I can't give that away.
Oh, that's a secret one.
That's a secret
talk
one.
about that. We had that one.
I was about to pick up a game and show it and say that we could give it away. But we will be giving away a very special copy of Castles of Burgundy. Special why? Because it's my original copy of Castles of Burgundy. Now, some might think that this is secondhand Castles of Burgundy, and in some ways it is, but you'll be getting a copy of Castles of Burgundy. So just comment below, and you might get a chance to win that. So We're going to talk about a few things tonight. One of the things we're going to get to is how we have fun in games, because I think different people find their fun differently. And I'm very curious to find out how all of us find our fun. I have a sense about Ryan and Jeremy Howard, not so much you, Andrew. But before we get to that, Andrew, the question on everyone's mind is, what is Earthborn Rangers and your whole new studio? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Earthborn Rangers is a customizable cooperative card game set in the far future. And Earthborn Games is my new studio, and which is founded on a couple principles. And one of them is trying to make board games, tabletop games, as sustainably as possible, which is something that I really believe in. I feel like it's something that the industry has to move towards. Not only the tabletop industry, but all consumer goods in general. I think need to move in that direction. So I feel like the sooner we can start moving there, the better. So that's a really big important thing for me, and that's when we start bringing Earthborn ready, getting it ready for production. We're going to be exploring that more and more. But I've spent a lot of time in the past year talking to people about how best to do that, and it is challenging, but it can totally be done. So I'm looking forward to bringing everyone along for that ride.
Yeah, and before we get to some of the game details, I do want to ask you about that, because it has to be a fairly significant challenge in this day and age. And I noticed something that was either in your press release or on your site talking about that sustainability, but also trying to balance that with bringing sort of the production values that people have come to expect from board games these days. So I imagine it's going to be a bit of a balance. It's not going to be like every piece of material is biodegradable and or edible, right?
100% sustainable. That's the goal.
That is the goal, but yeah, I recognize that will be a challenge.
Sure.
But I think I don't know if you guys know much about the company Patagonia, but that company is about trying to do right and by the environment, and have this idea of doing as little harm as possible to the earth when you're making something. And obviously the thing that we could do that would do the least amount of harm would be to do absolutely nothing, but that's no fun. So since I don't want to do nothing, I think and make something cool, the idea is to make it as thoughtfully as we can, and to really consider the consequences of our choices. And I think that's something that, by and large, a lot of companies don't necessarily do. You're just really kind of excited to get your thing out and get it done. But I think that's really important, and I feel like I'll be weighing a lot of factors when it comes to like sustainability. Like you said, like the quality is really important. I think like that's like a key thing for me, because I don't want people to get a product and be like, oh, this thing's sustainable, that's why this card is like super flimsy, or like this looks like it's printed on newsprint or something like that. It has to be at that level of quality. And I think, from what I've explored, like all of that is possible. It's just a matter of will. So, I'll be trying my best. I think one of the things I really want to do is really be transparent about that process, and share in my experience in trying to make that possible, both to raise awareness about it with players, but also to help enable other companies to do the same thing, because it's not something that like I want Earthborn to corner the market on. I mean, the hope is that everybody does it. So
right.
Well, it's definitely setting a good example, and I guess the good news is about your first game is that from what it sounds like, it's largely a card game, right? So you're not talking about a ton of plastic bits or anything like that.
Yes, and that was very
not all
intentional. I've been talking to someone about doing miniatures sustainably. That's interesting. But I thought it would be simple, but it is actually more complicated than you think. Like the cardstock itself is trying to do that sustainably is challenging, and I learned not too long ago that a lot of the cards that you get like aren't even recyclable, because they're like paper covered in plastic. So there's lots of things to consider there as well, like with the coating, with the cardstock itself, and
interesting.
Yeah. So it's stuff that I went into thinking, oh yeah, this will be easy, but I think it's ultimately going to be almost just as challenging, which is good.
All right.
Wow.
So what can you tell us about? I mean, what is the elevator pitch? I know a lot of people have read that, but let's start there. And I know Jeremy and Ryan probably have some questions, and I've got a couple questions from people on social media as well.
And we've got a little image that we can show too.
Yes. As we talk about this, we do have an image that we believe Andrews should be the man who knows, but we're 99% sure no one else has seen this. So we do have another image of Earthborn Rangers.
Yeah, let's see. No one's told me anyway if they have, but it is something that's discoverable online if you're inquisitive. So
feel like we're about to roll a clip from a movie that you have coming out soon.
I like
Here we
it.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Andrew,
Can
do
you
you
go
want
to
to
the clip,
set this up?
Give us a
Yeah,
sizzle
you wanna
reel.
Set up the clip.
All right. So
And he
Andrew,
doesn't know what he said.
Andrew, why don't you give us the elevator pitch while Ryan rolls that beautiful image?
Sure. Yeah. So, Earthborne Rangers, like it says in the little tagline there, takes place in the future. It takes place about 2,500 years in the future, and really, it kind of started. It's difficult to know exactly where to start with this, but I think like it really started with me thinking about like our imagined futures and how so many of our imagined futures and things that I enjoy too. Like it's not like I don't enjoy a lot of like what people put out there, but so much of it revolves around human misery and the earth like essentially being a giant trash heap. And I was considering that and thinking about how so much science fiction throughout the years has essentially manifested itself in our modern lives. Like I'm a big Star Trek fan. So like I look at like the technology and like Star Trek: The Next Generation, and you can see that stuff in your daily life now, which is pretty amazing. So I started to think about that and like thinking like, well, are we helping to create this terrible future by like continuing to put energy into this idea that the future is an irradiated wasteland and like people have like fallen to their worst instincts and it's just like a nightmare for everybody. So when I started thinking about that, I was like, okay, well, what would be the alternative? So I started trying to imagine like what I would want in a future. So that kind of got me around to thinking like, okay, well, what do we need to do to get there? So Earthborn Rangers is kind of based on this premise that in the near future we all come together as a people, as a world, to heal the earth. And the way we all do that in different ways, and various different cultures and different societies approach that from different angles. But the goal is the same. So everyone kind of bands together, abandons pretty much everything else that they're doing, and then just puts all their energy into undoing the damage that we've done. And it works. But there's still a lot of like difficult times. So like it's not all awesome. But then projecting forward, a couple thousand years, Sam, Gregor Stewart, and I spent a lot of time imagining, what would those cultures be like that would, how would they evolve and change, like having that inherent desire to care for the earth, and how differently would they behave, and what would be important to them. So then we kind of started there as like creating this culture, and the culture we created lives in what was once called the Rocky Mountains. Now it's called something else. But the game focuses on the people of this valley, this mountain valley. And we built more of the world, but the Earthborne Rangers focuses on that valley and their experience, and then we'll build out from there. But I also wanted to have a world that was, like it was idyllic, but also had adventure. So it was actually fun to go and do things, and there was danger and excitement, right? I don't know if you guys have watched the William Shatner documentary on Star Trek, where they were talking about like Gene Roddenberry's vision for the future, and how it's not a whole, there's a lot of similarities actually to the Earthborne vision for the future. People come together and like world governments have kind of gone away, everyone's cool with each other, and they're very evolved, right? In Roddenberry's like ideal future, there was like no conflict. So the writers were really, really challenged to try to like come up with stories that he would approve. And then eventually we introduced some conflict and stuff to make it more interesting. So that was something that I was struggling with early on, is like trying to find ways of like bringing adventure in, but ultimately, you know, landing on this idea that there are lots of consequences based on the choices that the people of the valley's ancestors, the people in the future, so like us, the decisions that we made and the things that we did to save the earth had lots of unintended consequences. So there's like lots of like weird structures like all over the world doing all sorts of things that no one remembers what they do anymore, but they're there doing something supposedly to like keep the earth in balance. There's also bioengineered creatures that walk around the world, kind of like searching for new purpose after their task has been complete.
I was going to ask you who you're fighting. That's what I was going to say. What's resistance? What's the resistance that's going to be?
Yeah. So like so really it's about just kind of like making your way in nature and like making sure that you're so like you play as this as rangers, and rangers are these, you know, protectors of this valley, and the valley is also this kind of very mysterious place. It's got its own, you know, story with the various weird science experiments that were going on there. I don't want to talk about that too much, so that really kind of centers around like the whole game and the central mystery. But yeah, so like in the valley, there's lots of weird stuff, lots of weird ruins, lots of weird creatures, and you know, there's and because of, you know, the earth being in a better place, you know, humans aren't as numerous. So because of that, we're not necessarily like at the top of the food chain anymore. So there are predators and other things out there that, you know, if you're not too careful, might eat you. So as a ranger, it's your responsibility to keep people safe.
The theme sounds awesome, but and I love the fact that you're going sort of in a positive direction. Obviously, the world is not the most positive place these days, so it's good to see that. But in terms of, so theme aside, though, Jeremy, did you have a question about sort of more mechanical aspect of the game?
Well, I have a concern. I just want to make sure that like Dr. Blight, Luton Plunder, Captain Planet are not involved, and if they are, could there be a miniature for that? I'm just saying, we're trying to take pollution down to the zero. Why don't we have Captain Planet in the game? No. All right. No. I mechanically, I just want to
Captain Planet license for the next game, Jeremy, just for you.
Do you have? No, I'm a silly goose, man. But do you have? Is this like a legacy style game, episodic? Is it going to be, you know, kind of thing? Is that the move that you're kind of going for at all? I don't know.
It's not legacy, obviously. Like it's not legacy, because obviously those are kind of disposable, generally speaking. Except for that new Green Legacy game that was announced, which I love that term. It's pretty clever. It's more of a campaign focused game. There's a story to it, but you know, that's not the only way to play. But yeah, it definitely has like a, you know, kind of like I don't want to say open world because I think that conjures the wrong things, but it creates environments and ecosystems that kind of have a life of their own. And you're adventuring in them, and what you're doing in them changes the way that you interact with them from mission to mission. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, I gotta say, I know you can't share all the details. No, you're definitely not saying too much. You can say all you want on our episode of Chit Chat. But the Saddlers, who are local to us, by the way, are involved in the design, right?
Yes.
And so, can we expect? Obviously, they've done some miniature games as of late, but I do recall that some of their earlier work, particularly at FFG, was more in the card game realm. So this is kind of in that realm of sort of the, I don't want to say collectible card game, but
it's not collectible, no.
Not a collectible card game, but a, would you say, living card game?
Well, what does that mean anymore? Really, it's in print.
Look at me trying to label it.
Yeah, I mean, the games I evoked in the marketing text, you know, that's deliberate. Like it does have its roots in those games for sure.
So we had
in the cooperative card games.
So on that front, we did have a question. I'm looking down at my phone here because we had a question when we tweeted about this episode from Ben Clapperton on Twitter. Said, or asked rather, he was interested in knowing whether this is going to be closer to a full-blown co-op LCG experience or closer to something like Heroes of Tyranoth.
It's definitely closer to the full-blown
okay.
Cooperative LCG experience. It has lots of market differences. It's definitely not templated on that product model. But I want to say, as far as like your options for deck building and the complexity of the experience, I think it's more in line with those games than Heroes of Tyranoth.
Okay. Ryan, Jeremy, you guys have any other questions about Earthborn?
Well, I kind of had one, and I want to talk about kind of another game that you were involved with in the past, and that was Arkham Horror, which is a really popular game, also a very, very, very difficult game to win. Are we looking at anywhere near that kind of difficulty with this?
No, I think that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. Like the difficulty level of games, especially cooperative games, for me, like, and Arkham Horror in general, like it always makes me, like the idea of the game more than the game itself, because my experience generally when I play really difficult co-op games is I get excited about playing them. I'll sit down to play, and then I'll proceed to get my butt handed to me again and again. And instead of encouraging me to continue to play it, there's so many other games, like I end up not going back. So with this game, I wanted to try to make a cooperative card game experience that encourages you to return to it again and again, where the difficulty level is you can adjust it for sure. There are lots of factors that go into changing the difficulty, but where the challenge can come largely from yourself. Like I use this example from my experience playing Skyrim, where Skyrim itself isn't what I would call a particularly difficult game. You can make it difficult by the choices that just choosing to play a certain way. So you're like, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to punch everything. That makes that game really hard. Or I played a character where I was like, I'm not going to use any magic items. And I played that way for 30 hours. That was really hard.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Being able to opt into that kind of thing was really fun. And this game definitely supports that kind of behavior. But additionally, I think it's important for me for this game to, when you're playing a campaign, I don't want there to be a sense of failing forward. I want you to feel like whatever the consequence of your game session, or however it turns out for you, that you're going to be excited and interested to see where the story goes, regardless. And I know there's going to be people who are going to want to play for a specific outcome, and I can't help them. They can do that. That's fine. They can beat their head against that wall. But the game will be designed to, take you through the narrative regardless of how you perform or how you feel like you perform.
Yeah, I love that.
So they can take you through to the end. So yeah,
I love
that was a great question. Thanks, Ryan.
Andrew, I have to admit, I am a latecomer to Arkham Horror, the card game. My wife and I started playing it last year during the pandemic, and we both loved it and devoured a lot of it. And then I bought all of it and haven't eaten any of that, but we have a lot of Arkham Horror to play. But what I liked about
I also have a lot of Arkham Horror to play.
You could play it, you could win, you could lose, and you just move on to the next scenario. Now, with that said, there were aspects of Arkham Horror that I felt we would replay the mission or the scenario, right? Because we didn't like losing. No one likes the failure. will
It's such a depressing outcome usually when you lose. So like you feel real bad about what happened. So you really want to make sure it happens the right way.
Well, and what's interesting too, though, is Arkham Horror had this aspect that I really loved, and I was curious to see whether you might have anything like this in there,
Sure.
where when you finish, you might do really well in a scenario, and you're like, "Oh, we crushed that scenario," and then the next scenario took that into account and destroyed us, or vice versa, where we'd get destroyed by a scenario, and then that would have an impact, making the following scenario, or maybe a scenario down the road, much easier because we got destroyed in the one. Is that will that connectivity feel like it's there with Earthborn?
Yeah, I mean, the goal with the campaign is for you to feel like what you do when you play a given scenario or play a mission has consequences in the game world, and you can see that manifest. Whether or not that makes it more difficult for the next session or not, that's a lot of stuff that we still have to figure out. So,
Sure.
So yeah, I think game balance as you move forward through a campaign is something that takes a lot of work. So once as we get into that more and more, then we'll make those decisions. But we haven't landed on that for 100% yet on how we're going to implement that.
All right. Well, we'll let you off the hook for now because we don't want to keep you here all night.
Yeah, those are great questions, though.
Ryan's question, your answer were a great segue because it brings up the idea of how people have fun in games, I think. And I think it's very unique with a lot of the games that I've played from your past and your career throughout and what you've got going on with Earthborn. And let's talk about that very briefly. But before we do that, I want to make a quick pit stop because I definitely want to talk about some just geeky pop culture stuff before we get to games.
Yeah.
What have you been watching? And have you seen Loki yet?
Yes, I watched Loki on Wednesday, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and we won't spend any time talking about it because we know it's very fresh, and there's a lot of people who haven't seen it. But I can say for me, and I've loved all the Marvel stuff. I think it's just degrees of good, generally speaking, the MCU. Yeah. And even the Disney Plus stuff has been fantastic. But what I'll say is I think the first episode of Loki for me was probably the best first episode of any of the Disney Plus shows for me, just because I love the more science fiction-y nature, and I love what they're doing with the character. Yeah. Jeremy Howard, what do you think? Because I know you told me off screen earlier you weren't a giant Loki fan.
Uh-oh.
No, I just found like characters so interesting in the beginning, and it's just fun, quippy, and then like it just kind of became this kind of background ancillary character, and it just never came back. And I think maybe that's because it wasn't all about Thor anymore, or all about his stone, So it's kind of like it just kind of faded for me. But the thing is, I watch all of these. Just like my game habit, I'm a glutton for punishment. Even games I don't like, I end up buying 3 times. So I'm going to give it a go. And if it's fun, it's fun. I'm along for the ride. I've been watching a game, though. I've been watching a show. I just started watching it last night. It's called Sweet Tooth.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, go. You talk about it because I absolutely ate every bit of Sweet Tooth last weekend with Alicia. We loved it.
Wow. So yeah, I just got into this. We watched the first episode. I've been waiting for it. So I'm just ready to go along for the journey. My wife goes from looking at her cell phone to being like, "Oh, that's cute," and then after I have about a half an hour in where she's like, "That's cute," all of a sudden she's in. If it's not murder mystery, she's not in.
Oh, really?
She saw the Sweet Tooth a couple times. She was excited, and then she's like, "I want to watch this." So that's how I got her roped in. I'm like, thank God these animal people are cute, like super cute.
Andrew,
so, yeah, I'm really excited.
Andrew, have you seen Sweet Tooth at all?
I've seen the promos for it, but I haven't watched it. Yeah, it looks interesting.
I think you might like it. I really think you might like it based on sort of even like what you were talking about with
what you're talking about.
Exactly
what you're talking about. Actually,
absolutely feels like that world. It's kind of a after the fall sort of scenario. I don't know if that's the story behind Earthborn, but it's got a much more feeling of hope although it is pretty dark. I will tell you, it gets pretty dark, and the pacing is fantastic. Like every episode is just more interesting than the last, and we loved it. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And then before board games, video games. I know, Andrew, you told me earlier you haven't had much time for video games, but I'm
Unfortunately,
dying.
last few weeks I've been very busy.
Well, yeah, I bet.
I bet. Jeremy,
I
what
have-
about you?
Before that, I was playing Civ 6.
Oh boy.
For me, video games are something I get excited about, and then I don't play them. So there's a point of the year where there's like a sale, and I go like, oh my god, I want to play that again. Oh my gosh, I want to play that again, and then I buy them all and never play them. So I've decided to do that with my Xbox Series S, which I should not have bought at all. The game that I decided to buy was not a new game. I bought an old game that I used to love. It is called Witcher 3. I mean,
Oh,
geez.
yeah.
Oh, Witcher 3.
Don't
I
call
mean,
Witcher
come
3
on.
an old game. I'm
I don't
like,
even know
old
how many
game?
times I've owned this game. Are you kidding me? Are you
Knights of the
kidding
Old
me?
Republic is old.
Witcher's a great.
But I also bought the Mass Effect collection, and I really have something I would like to address with you offline, Ryan, about this hot take about Andromeda. That's absolutely
I
ridiculous.
stand by Andromeda, and I always.
You understand how important every single character, the entire world of Mass Effect, was set on. The first hour and a half of that, man, Mass Effect 1 is so good. It's so well written. So well written. Andromeda.
I love Mass Effect
man.
1. Don't get me wrong.
Come
I
on.
just went back and replayed it all.
Oh my gosh. Garrus, man. Just Garrus' story alone. Tali's story alone. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I was just like, why is he saying this? This is such a hot take. It's so flaming hot take.
Yeah, I saw that too. I can't speak too much. I've played a little bit of Mass Effect. I played Mass Effect 2, never played 1, never played Andromeda. Yeah.
Mass Effect 2 is insane.
They're fantastic games. One thing on the video game front I'm excited about, haven't played it. Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart comes out
Came out, right?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it's
Comes out
tomorrow or maybe tonight at midnight. I absolutely this game looks phenomenal. This is like one of the reasons I got a PS5 is to see games like this.
The question is, are you going to stay up and play it at midnight tonight?
No. I'm not.
No.
I'm not that guy anymore. I can't. I mean, I stay up plenty late, but I won't be playing Rift Apart tonight. I am going to get it, and we'll probably fiddle around with it this weekend a little bit. But and then this weekend's also E3. So if you're a video game fan at all, there's tons of announcements. And I just got a text from someone saying that there's an Elden Ring trailer that just dropped.
Yeah. Yep.
So don't turn off Chit Chat to go watch that right now. But that's what I'm going to be doing as soon as we're done here is checking that trailer out. Ryan, what about you? You've been playing Mass Effect too, right?
I have been playing a lot of Mass Effect, and still playing that Knockout City dodgeball game. Like that is just so much fun. I don't know what it is about that game.
Stupid fun.
Is it Oculus? Is that an Oculus thing?
No,
it's just on.
It's on
every
everything.
system, I think. Yeah.
It's dodgeball. You walk around, you pick up a ball and throw it at people. It's silly, but it is kind of fun. Well, I have to admit.
Hold on. Let's take this seriously, David. Back in the day, Super Dodgeball was awesome. So is this Super Dodgeball? Because we're not making fun of that.
It's a very different sort of dodgeball. It's kind of like you're walking around an environment, and I hate to say Fortnite, but Fortnite-esque, just picking up dodgeballs where you can. And then it doesn't really even take much skill. You're just chucking it.
It takes a little bit of skill there.
The biggest mechanic is there's a parry. So when someone throws the ball at you, you can catch it and then throw it back. And it kind of almost has this sort of like rapid fire, building power behind it, which is kind of fun. But it's cool.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's silly, simple fun. And that is the best segue, because let's talk really quickly about how we have fun and what kind of fun we look for in our board games, because I know it's different from everybody. I kind of look at it as a spectrum of, and there's more to it than this, but I always look at the spectrum of people who like the journey and people who like the destination. And people who like the destination generally fall into the bucket of wanting to win or do well or master the game. Whereas me, I hide behind the fact that I like the journey because I often don't win, and I can excuse it that way by saying I just had a good time, which is really how I get my fun. But Andrew, why don't you start? What's your idea of fun?
Oh my gosh. Yes. posed this question to me earlier today, and I don't feel like I've come up with a great answer. But
hopefully it's in Earthborn though.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I think for me, I think I find a lot of my fun in games, honestly, in the time I spend with games like by myself. I think that's a big part for me, is like if there's a game that is engaging to me, that I'll spend time with it and like reading the rules, or like I love RPGs, so like I love just like sitting down and just reading like RPG source books.
Yeah.
And I really get into that, or like, like playing like a card game, like if you really get into like a competitive card game, for example, like just like poring over your collection, getting excited about building decks. Well, like playing miniatures games, which I've done a lot of too, like you end up spending 95% of your time with a miniatures game alone, painting at a table, as opposed to like actually sitting down and playing a game. So yeah, for me, like I think I get a lot of fun out of that. Otherwise, like I feel that as long as I'm at a table with friends and the game doesn't somehow prevent us somehow from having fun, then I'll have fun playing pretty much anything, just goofing around with my
I
buddies.
like the words.
Yeah.
I like the words there. Prevent us from having fun. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Jeremy,
But it has happened.
Jeremy, are you a fun preventer, or do you bring fun to the table?
Are you gotta be kidding me? If the game stinks, I'm bringing the fun. You trust me? We're going on a journey. You hear me? We're changing up the path. We're taking the other road right there, right now.
Where do you what kind of games do you find fun?
For me, what's interesting is I like really dark theme dungeon crawl to meaty game. I like all games. Like I love that a game tells me what journey we're going to go on. Maybe it's not even telling me a journey. It says, hey, take these things out. We're going to slap each other for 5 minutes, literally sticky chameleons. And we're going to slap each other's stuff, like just slap each other. And it's going to be fun. You can even slap it out of people's hands. It's fun, right? Or Meeple Circus. I can flick things off of stuff and make silly things. I love that. But I love On Mars just as much, and it's like, I may be bothered by one game and then say it's fiddly, and then I love Anachrony. There's something about certain things that I like the puzzles of games, I also love the instant feedback of certain games, but I also crave the feeling of feeling overpowered. And
interesting.
But I crave that. Like I crave that feeling, that I call it the moment in a game. It's the moment. It could be the third round of a game in a fourth round. It could be the fourth round in Lost Ruins of Arnak, where you got it coming, right? You got that moment coming. You're like, man, I got like a 10-turn round right now. Okay, try me. Open it up. I'm ready. So there's this feelings that you have, and I look forward to those moments. So of course, like deck builders are good for me. Tableau builders are good for me. But also dungeon crawlers, when you get to like that 5th level and you're just powerful as all heck. Like that's the cool feeling. That's what that design decided to do, is like you're going to be powerful by the 5th journey and have fun.
So that game that game that gives you that feeling at some point while you're playing it.
Yeah, like you really do want to. There's a part, even like in Too Many Bones, there's a part where you feel like maybe not so confident. You're getting pummeled, but there's like time. There's still time. And then you get there and you've made these choices, and whether you win or lose, and it doesn't matter if I lose. If I go down like a champ and I felt powerful, but we got overwhelmed, and I always say, like, we got overwhelmed. We were awesome, like the standoff for the movie is cool, right? The standoff in the movie, The Last Stand. Well, if I lose The Last Stand, but I went out banging, awesome, like we had a chance, maybe we had a chance. Maybe we had big role in Cthulhu Death May Die, and we were one hit short.
I've seen that.
Don't get me started again on my joy of the last moment in that game. That is
that game is the definition of fun, though. That game is the definition of fun. It really is. It's one of those games.
Every last round in that game I've ever played has been so tense and exciting, and whether we win or lose,
Yep.
It's been fun, and we had the same sort of outburst at the table. Jeremy, I have to say, I can't say any better than what you just did, how I find fun. I do think there's one other thing I was thinking of too, Andrew, when I was thinking about this question myself, was, and you kind of touched on it, like that meditative time you use to prep for a game. We read a lot of rule books, and one of the things that I find fascinating is I'll read rule books, and when a game, and we play a lot of new games too, and when I read the rule book and I see that it's trying to do something that I don't think I've ever seen done before, and especially in the rule books when it's explained, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to try that because it just sounds like a lot of fun. One of those things, Ruthless is a game I played very recently. I don't know if has anyone else played Ruthless?
I haven't.
So this is a pretty straightforward deck builder at first glance, but it's pirates themed. But it has this interesting thing that correct me if I'm wrong. I've never seen this in another deck builder, but the players alternate their turns far more rapidly back and forth. So when you get your hand, you're not playing out your whole hand. You're doing one thing with that hand, maybe recruiting as well, and then the other players go. And then it comes back to you. So you're slowly whittling your hand in this deck builder to do a variety of different things, because that core action you can take has it's a command action. It has one of a few different options, and then you can recruit potentially. And then after everyone's out of cards, everyone can recruit again. And then there's this opportunity to actually each player to raid and get some points that are up for grabs at the end of each round effectively. But I've never seen that, and I thought it was really cool. I just like it when people kind of add just a little twist in something that make it like, oh, this is cool. And a lot more deck builders should maybe consider this approach, because, otherwise you see a lot of games like that get a little, not stale, but like when they're doing exactly the same sort of thing and following the same sort of path. So that is the one thing I have a lot of fun just personally, but like I said, everything you said, Jeremy, is exactly me in terms of fun. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah. So actually, I was reading the comments. That's what I've been doing this whole time. Brant said something that really struck a nerve with me in the comments, which was a fun game is a game that makes you feel clever and allows you to do clever things. Yeah. And I like that feeling in a game. I've been accused sometimes of wanting to win, and it's not that I want to win. It's that I want the thing that I'm doing that I think is clever to pay off. And for me, there's nothing more frustrating in a game where it's like, ooh, I'm going to do this really cool thing that I've planned and figured out, and then you try to do it, and then it just doesn't do anything. And you're like, well, now I don't feel clever, I feel dumb. Yeah. And that's the opposite of what I want to feel. So I think that I really love that comment. My mind was already going to that same place. I want a game to be satisfying, and win or lose, I want my strategy and my playstyle to have been rewarded in some way.
I just want to say that he also said that he calls Cthulhu Death May Die, Cthulhu Dale May Die. It's pretty funny. Dale.
It's really
like, wow, that works. That really works.
Most plays of that game should be Cthulhu Everyone's Gonna Die.
Everyone dies. That's the real name of the game.
Fun, though. It's so fun to try. Like it is.
It's a blast. Oh. And Ryan, I will say, I'll add on to what Ryan said too before we move on to the next segment. Even games where you end up feeling dumb, I find it fascinating when a game is balanced and paced and put together just so that whether people feel dumb together and still have fun with it. Yeah. You can a lot of party games, you end up feeling dumb, or you're screwing up, but everyone is screwing up at the table from time to time. So you don't feel like the one person is losing. Yeah.
No, but just one is like, hey, but that's the thing. We're all in it flipped that Pictionary, those types of things on its head and said, hey, like we're all in this together. And when we fail, when we get a 6, right? When we get a 6 out of 13, we go,
right.
Hey,
we all screwed up.
We can do this. Let's play it again. Let's play it again. And that's why Just One is so fun. It's an all-nighter. It's a rare game that's an all-nighter because you want to get good, right? And we all want to get good together.
It's also a cooperative game too, and that's always, you can get that experience because at the end of a cooperative game, when you lose, everyone lost. And so you're always at the same level. You don't have that one guy that's celebrating. Well, everyone's like, oh man, that was a bad experience for us.
Unless there's a hidden traitor mechanic in the game.
But I wouldn't know if I would call that a true co-op.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of co-ops, it is the perfect segue to our next thing. Is everyone ready to play a little player versus player? And in particular, Jeremy and Andrew, are you both ready?
Yes.
Oh, look at Jeremy. This should be interesting.
If you were in the room with me.
We're gonna
pulling
play
off my old shell game.
We've got three categories tonight. Structured them a little bit more cleanly, so we should be able to get through this. But looking at the time, we are probably going to be a little past 8. But hope everyone's okay with that, because this should be fun.
In the name of fun. Let's go.
All right, Ryan, are we ready? Are we ready for category number 1?
We are.
All right. So here's how this is going to work, guys. The first category is co-op games. I've got a list that you can't see here on screen. We've got a big blank void, but it's going to be populated with answers as you give them. We're going to go back and forth between you. So we're going to start with Andrew. He's going to list a co-op game, then over to you, Jeremy. Here's the trick. These are 16 co-op games that are in the top 50 on BGG. So, all you have to do is name a co-op game that's somewhat popular, and you're probably going to be safe. We're not doing them in order or anything like that. But once Andrew names a co-op game, Jeremy will go to you, and we're going to give each of you about 10 seconds each to name your co-op game, and then whoever goes out first loses round 1. Are we ready?
Oof. Sure. Yes.
All right.
You said top 50, you said?
Top 50, and it goes without saying, I think, that you can't look at BGG or your computers for the most part right now.
Right. Don't cheat by reading all the comments.
Wow.
Right, so I've got a list. I've got a list here, and
I have
Ryan,
a list in front of me.
Ryan has a list as well. So Andrew,
Wow.
please kick things off. The 10 seconds begins now.
Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven.
I think Gloomhaven's on here.
Is it on the list, Ryan?
It is on the list.
It is on the list. Okay, Jeremy, over to you.
How about Arkham Horror LCG?
Arkham Horror is on the list. And
Marvel Champions.
Marvel Champions. See,
one of my favorites.
You're realizing that this is a little easier, particularly Andrew and his history here.
So many games in my head, I have no idea if they're in the top 50.
Pandemic.
Silence over there.
Is it just Pandemic?
Pandemic Season 2?
So Pandemic Legacy Season 2?
Yeah, Legacy Season 2.
Okay,
yes,
we'll take it. We'll take it.
It's in there.
Yeah.
Too Many Bones.
Too Many Bones is in there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
And not to give any hints, but Jeremy, and we'll give you the timers pause for the moment. We would be accepting games that are in the same franchise that also is literally any co-op game or primarily cooperative game.
Okay, I was gonna say that's what I was gonna jump on. I was gonna say, well, what's the other one, right? Elder Sign, right? Elder Sign.
Nope.
Oh.
Oh my gosh! So we'll list them off here for you. Ryan, do you want to list them off as you reveal them?
You're gonna kick yourself, Jeremy. So we got The Crew.
Oh, dude, what did I? That's it right there. Like, as much as I love The Crew, like you got to be kidding.
We got Spirit Island, which I know.
Oh my gosh, I failed. I completely failed.
You said Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Season 1 is also on there.
Wow.
The Arkham game you were looking for is Mansions of Madness, which is on there.
Mansions of Madness.
Second edition, though.
Second
edition, yep. We have Imperial Assault.
Is Robinson Crusoe on there?
It is not.
No, Robinson Crusoe is not on there.
Clank
I would have
Legacy.
missed that.
I think Andrew said Gloomhaven, but nobody said Jaws of the Lion, which is also in the top 50. And Kingdom Death Monster, which is a pretty well-known one.
Top 5 for me, yeah.
Is it top 5 for you?
That's top
Another
five
one
for
that
me.
I think you love, Seventh Continent.
Yeah.
And the last one is maybe a little harder to get. I didn't realize this was in the top 50, but it's Mechs versus Minions.
Yeah, Mechs versus
Wow.
Minions. Mechs versus Minions is at number 46. And I
What
see
is
some people in the
popularity? I can
comments. See some people in the comments listing Mage Knight. I didn't include that on the list because I didn't feel that it was
It's not co-op, no.
primarily.
It's not totally cooperative, right?
Yeah.
It's not. So I can understand why it's not, because that's why I didn't even mention it.
And I did include Imperial Assault mainly because when you play it with the app, and I think I get the sense that's probably mostly how people play it now. But
yeah, technically not co-op, but
no. Oh, okay.
It's one versus many, but the app
makes it co-op.
Yeah.
It's a co-op mode. Maybe that's all you need.
Yes. Well, there it is. Anyway, neither of you picked it, so I feel okay. All right. So Andrew took round one. Now, I've got good news, bad news. The good news is if you were struggling with that board game information, the good news is our next round has nothing to do with board games, but it is a little trickier. This might go really fast. In the interest of our shared enthusiasm for the MCU and all things Marvel, we're going to be listing the MCU movies in release order. So, here's the good news.
This could be debated.
No, not in chronological order.
Not chronological.
Not chronological within the universe, but in when they were released in our world.
Man,
I figured we were going to go with the MCU universe chronology, but that is a little debatable and a little foggy in places. So we're sticking with release order, and I'm going to go ahead and kick things off to let you know what the first one was.
If you don't already remember.
If you don't remember, it was Iron Man.
Right. Okay, so you're talking about MCU and okay.
Yeah, we're talking about MCU release order.
These are MCU movies, and you get 3 strikes. So if you miss one, we'll keep going, and we will reveal the next one as a compilation.
Oh, okay.
So 3 strikes, and you're out on this one. So Andrew, you won that last one. We're going to give Jeremy the chance to catch back up and kick things off. So Jeremy, you begin. After Iron Man, what was the next MCU movie?
Thor?
Strike one.
It was not.
You want to show him the next one, Ryan?
Oh, we're not going to give Andrew a chance to steal? The next one was The Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk. Yeah, we'll never get through the list otherwise. There are 23 of these, by the way.
Yeah, it's a lot.
23 MCU movies.
So it was Iron Man, Incredible Hulk. Andrew, over to you. What came out after the Incredible Hulk?
Was it Iron Man 2?
It was Iron Man 2. In future episodes, we will add a ding to these answers, but for now, Ryan and I will just
satisfied.
Yeah. Okay, Jeremy, you got 1 strike on you. After Iron Man 2, what was the movie that came out?
Okay, so now.
Can I give him a hint?
Yeah, it's going to be so hard.
No. How about the first Avenger, Cap?
No.
No. Straight.
This one was Thor.
That was Thor.
Yeah.
I was certain you were going to get it since you said Thor before.
I was like, oh no. What order were they introduced in? Oh no.
So it was Thor. It wasn't interesting. I have to say, I came up with this question because it's been in the conversation as of late. And I thought, oh, okay, this should be easy. And I'm telling you, I'd be out like right away. I just can't remember the order. I remember
they were introduced.
I can probably list them, but the order is going to be tough. Okay, so that was Thor. What is the next movie, Andrew, that came out after Thor?
That has to be Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yeah, it has to be.
It was.
It was.
Jeremy, you're setting Andrew up for easy grabs here.
Well, I mean, after that, it has to be Iron Man 2.
No,
Iron Man 2.
He already said Iron Man 2.
What's after Captain America: The First Avenger?
Captain America: Civil War. No, it's not. No, I'm sorry, not Captain America. Not Captain America. Not Captain America. Actually, no. Sorry. After that was Iron Man 3.
No, that's
Since you've just
correct.
given
Andrew's
three
like, I
wrong,
want to say something.
since you've given 3 wrong answers.
Andrew knows.
Andrew, do you know the answer?
It was Marvel's The Avengers.
That's right.
I have to say, I had just listed the Avengers. The fact that you said Marvel's The Avengers is impressive.
Wait,
You're
wait,
like
wait.
one off.
So,
No,
Winter
then
Soldier
it's Iron
was
Man
Winter
3.
Winter
after
Soldier
the
was that
Avengers.
before?
No, Winter Soldier was after. So it
It
was.
was way down there.
We'll finish them off. Ryan, you get your
Okay.
clicker finger ready. It was The Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America: Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Those came out pretty close to one another, honestly.
Yeah.
Spider-Man: Homecoming, Thor: Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, and then there was 2 movies before Endgame, Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel, then Endgame, and then finally the last one to hit theaters was Spider-Man: Far From Home. And next month, I think Black Widow hits theaters early next month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm ashamed of myself.
They're hard.
Jeremy, you shouldn't be ashamed of yourself. I got to tell you, I thought I would kill at this, and then I was talking about it with Ryan. I was like, "Oh man, I'd be screwed. There's no way I could get through."
Yeah.
I would.
Chronological would have been easier, I think.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, yes. But then there's some that are weird. There's some
some
that
that take place at the same time.
or not on Earth, and it's kind of hard to know when that took place.
Right.
You know
All
what?
right.
If we just did pound for pound with names, it'd be good because somebody would have, somebody would have crapped out at some point. I'm assuming, like, if you wouldn't get through all of them, you would try to figure them out. Nice job, David. Jeez.
I'm sorry. We're trying to make the guest look good, Jeremy.
Right.
I know.
You're doing
Well,
your
you
part.
are.
Appreciate it.
You're doing your
Clap it
part.
up. Dolphin clap for David here. Jeez.
All right. So we're going to have a round 3, even though it kind of doesn't matter. But I think you guys might have fun with this. We mentioned earlier that both of you are from Wisconsin. I'm going to just assume you are experts about cheese. Am I right? Am I wrong? So-
Hedgehog cheese? No, I'm just kidding.
I did some heavy lifting with this research and found out that in 2015, this is the best research I could find. I got the top 10 produced cheeses from Wisconsin.
Okay.
According to a survey in 2015. There's a lot of interesting facts, by the way. If anyone's ever interested, there's a massive amount of facts about how much cheese is produced, how many manufacturers there are, how many different types of cows produce cheese. It's crazy. But tonight we're just going to be talking about the top 10 produced cheeses in Wisconsin. Doesn't have to be in order. You're literally just naming a cheese, and you're bound to be accurate on some
Is
of
this like
these.
just a cheese type?
Okay, so I'll preface this. Most of them are just cheese types. I will tell you there are 3 categories that are kind of umbrella categories that cover a bunch of cheeses in that sort of regional category, if you will. But then there are some very specific cheeses, and it was interesting to see which ones by far are the most produced cheeses. So, we're going to let Jeremy, we're going to let you kick things off. You just got to name a cheese here, friend.
I have to start with cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
Cheddar is on the list.
Cheddar,
It's
better than cheddar.
It's number
I
2,
agree.
though. I'll tell you
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. It's number 2 by kind of a country mile. It made up 19% and change of the cheese production in Wisconsin that year. So Andrew, over to you.
How about Monterey
Peter
Jack?
Monterey Jack. Now, Ryan, before you buzz him,
Uh-oh.
this falls into one of the categories.
Oh, does it?
Yes, this falls into the American category.
Oh, okay.
So one of the categories was other/American, and it included all of the blends, if you will.
I see. Okay.
I see. Monterey Jack blend, yeah.
Yeah. So it takes all of the American blends off the table, by
Yeah,
the way.
no more American blends.
Oh man. I'm gonna go. You realize we're from Wisconsin. We're just not cheese. Like put the cheese on there. That's all. We just want cheese on everything.
No, I know.
No matter what it
Just put
is.
the cheese on there. How about cottage cheese?
I don't know if that counts. That's like
No,
a,
no, I'm just,
that's
no.
like a
how about
state
Gouda
of
cheese? Gouda cheese. Gouda.
Which one?
Gouda?
Yeah.
Gouda is on the list.
Yep.
And as a comparison point, cheddar made up 19% of the production. Gouda was at 0.4% of the production at the bottom of the list. It was number 10.
I'm going to say Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese is on
Swiss
there.
cheese.
Just a
Wow.
little bit above Gouda. It was at number 8, so number 9's in there still.
Is mozzarella is mozzarella an actual cheese?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on the list.
It's on the list at number 1. It is by
Yeah.
far
Makes
and away
sense,
the most produced cheese. Probably, I'm going to say pizza's the culprit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
Say
sense.
that.
Yeah, it was 34% of the production that year.
All right, now I'm gonna be out of my game because I'm gonna be going with all foreign stuff more than likely.
Okay.
Because I worked at a fine dining restaurant. I'm gonna be stabbing in the dark. I know a whole bunch of cheeses. I don't know if Wisconsin makes them. Here we go.
All right, Andrew, back to you.
Is Munster cheese on there?
Munster is on there
It is
all
on there.
by itself. It's
Wow.
right above Swiss.
How about Manchego?
Manchego is on there. It's going to have fallen into the other.
Yeah,
And I don't know that it's Italian, but there was a category called other Italian, and it
Sure.
included a lot of regional sort of European cheeses
that's
like
what
that.
I thought.
So,
Yeah. Okay, so I know I got to come back a little
so
bit here.
that was
That's
other
another-
Italian. So mozzarella
So
one.
that does count.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are off the table. So we're going number 5, 6. Oh, we only got 3 left.
Colby. Is that a
Yeah.
blend? Is that a blend?
Colby is an American blend.
Gah.
So we're going to give a buzzer to Andrew on that one, and we'll wrap this up. Just because I know all of our viewers are completely on the edge of their seat with all this cheese conversation.
all
I'm
our
curious
cheese
to know what
knowledge.
these other cheeses are.
So the
Yeah.
other cheeses at number 5 was feta.
Oh.
Yep.
Love that.
Number 6 was another category called Hispanic, and this included like queso blanco and all sorts of different queso cheeses.
Mm.
And then the last one at number 9 was gorgonzola, one of my favorite cheeses, actually.
Oh, that's just fun to say.
Yeah, gorgonzola. I mean, you could say that all day. But that was round 3, so we had Jeremy. You won the cheese competition at the very least.
Yes.
Makes a
Somebody
lot of sense.
moved out and got different.
I know, it's true.
Somebody moved out and changed.
But that is episode 82 of Chit Chat, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Andrew, thank you for joining us and sharing information about your new game and your new studio.
Thanks for having me.
We might ask, I'm not going to commit him to it, but ask us questions in the comments. If he's not going to be in the comments, we might relay some of your questions to him and try to get answers for you if we can.
Yeah.
But until next time, everyone make sure you have fun at the table, and we'll see you next time.